Hello! Today we are doing my quarterly check-in with my favorite books. These are the 4.5 and 5 stars of my first 3 months of reading for the year of 2021. And I will say, this has been a really strong reading quarter. My overall, I have some stats, so I guess I can share those real quick. My overall average rating has been a 3.37, which is good. And I've actually had a lot of 4 stars this quarter, more than I feel like I normally do. I haven't had a ton of things that then surpass 4 stars and get into 4.5 and 5 star territory. I've only got 6 of those. But I would say I think I've read 66 books, and of those, 6 of them are a favorite of the year, an all-time favorite, which is how I define 4.5 stars, favorite of the year, 5 stars, all-time favorite. So 6 divided by 66 is, I don't know, this number. So not a ton, but I'm excited to talk to you about the books that did kind of bubble up to the very top of my favorites. And I would say overall, I'm feeling really good about just sort of like how the reading year has gone so far. I feel like I've gotten a lot done in terms of some of the challenges that I knew I wanted to work on, series that I knew I wanted to make progress in, trying to read a little bit more from different types of genres. And anyway, all in all, I'm really happy with how this year of reading is going so far. And I'm definitely very excited to have a very positive video telling you about the books, the 6 books that I think really are the best of what I've read so far. So we will start with my 4.5s and then we'll get to my 5s. So 3 4.5s that I have. Start at the top of this little stack and make our way down. So the first one I have is a nonfiction pick called Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia by Sabrina Strings. And this, I think, is just an incredibly effective history of ideas, which is one of my favorite kinds of nonfiction. I am a sucker for a really good history of ideas. I think this one fits that bill because I think she does a really persuasive job of tracking kind of how the language around fatness and thinness came to be from basically the Renaissance period of Europe onwards, what kind of language was used to describe idealized body types and how that was correlated to race. And I think she makes a really persuasive argument that fat came to be associated with non-white bodies, and therefore fatness in any body came to be, phobia, like marginalized. So I think it's a persuasive argument. Even if you don't totally buy it, I think it's an interesting history kind of how people have talked about different body types over time. She also does a really good job. I listened to this as audio originally, but she's describing a lot of paintings at the beginning. I'm trying to find a good painting to show you. Oh, I guess here's a sketch. She's describing paintings with using only her words. And when I was listening to it on audio, that's all I had to go on. And I think she's like particularly skilled at being able to describe what she's seeing in images. So anyway, all around, if you were looking, I wouldn't say that this is like super readable in terms of like, it's not beautifully written, but I loved the content of this one so much. So if this is a subject that interests you and or if you just like a history of ideas, I would definitely recommend this. Next, we'll say The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I'm really excited about this one. It comes out in May, and this is going to be their first hardback release, so congrats to them for that. But The Soulmate Equation, I just think it's probably my second favorite book from them that I've read, my first being The Unhoneymooners, but this just really hit the spot for me in terms of its trope combo. It's a hate to love and a fake dating trope combined, and then they're also both like math geeks. So I mean sold, like that. It's just like a lot of the elements that I really enjoy in a romance. It's a contemporary with like a speculative element thrown in because essentially the setup is our main female character is matched to the head of this Match.com kind of dating service that uses DNA to make the matches. And they have the highest match that they've ever had in the history of the company. So basically the company is like, hey, we will pay you to try to date this guy. I mean, like, you don't have to sleep with him or whatever, but like just to go on dates with him and see if this is a connection, basically because like it's great PR for us. And also like you're the highest match we've ever had. So we want to see what happens. But the catch is that she already knows this guy and he's kind of the worst. He's been sort of an asshole to her. So she's not wild about that, but she's a single mom and she needs the money. And so, they start dating, love ensues from there. I did think that the transition of him being pretty unlikable to being like decently likable. I don't know that I totally bought that, but aside from that, I really just enjoyed this a lot. It has really great also just sort of like found family and family dynamics, particularly our main character's best friend, Fizzy. I really hope she gets her own book. She's just a delight of a character. Anyway, all in all, this is just really fun and charming and exactly what I needed from kind of a contemporary romance. And then the last of my 4.5-star picks is Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay. This is a thriller that is one of the most just like page-turnery, can't put it down kind of mystery thriller type books that I've read in quite some time. I just like, it's really propulsive. It's really just sort of bingeable. It's got kind of a conspiracy element to it, hence the red string. But the setup is our main, well, we have a few different point of view characters, but let's call him our main character. His family is sort of notorious because his older brother committed a very like notorious crime. He killed his high school girlfriend, went to prison for life for it. But there has been a docuseries on Netflix since then calling into question whether or not his brother actually did it. And the rest of his family, his dad in particular and his little sister in particular, have been like really involved in trying to get his older brother exonerated and prove that he's innocent. And the rest of his family, so his parents, his little brother and his little sister, they are on vacation in Mexico and they die. It appears to be an accident, like kind of like a carbon monoxide thing, but like as the book goes on, it's like, was it an accident? Was it not? What's going on? Did his older brother really do it? And we get a bunch of different point of views, a bunch of different sort of like side elements come in. I think what I was really impressed with this book is that usually side plots, part of the struggle of having multiple point of views and having a lot of different side plots happening is that you run the risk of the reader not caring about some of it and like getting impatient when it goes back to that. At least that's my struggle sometimes. For me, this is the rare situation where really pretty much every element of the story I was invested in and into, and I never resented spending time in most of the POVs because I was invested in what was happening. I think there was one too many POVs, and I think that a couple of twists could have been made to make the ending more satisfying. But overall, I think that this is a really entertaining book. Do want to give a content warning that there's a lot of stereotyping in the portrayals of Mexican characters in this. It is not a major part of the book, but it is present, and I just want people to have that as a piece of information before they do or don't choose to pick up the book. So that is my third 4.5 star. So then we can transition into my 5 stars. These are all, so 4.5 they qualify as like a favorite of the year. A 5 star is like an all-time favorite book. So I guess I have 2 classics and 1 non-classic. So maybe we'll go classic, non-classic, classic. My first classic pick I will mention is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This is a classic of nonfiction, and it is comprised of a letter that James Baldwin wrote to his nephew, as well as an essay about basically his experience in the Black American church and how that religious background morphed and changed over time as he grew in his activism for civil rights, as well as his basically like his identity as a queer Black man. Both of them are great. The letter to the nephew literally makes me weep even just thinking about it, so I'm going to move swiftly onward. But this book is just, it's a classic of nonfiction for a reason. I think that his actual language is beautiful and is so well suited to nonfiction writing. Like James Baldwin as an actual prose stylist for nonfiction, for me, just like 100% connects. The ideas in it are beautifully stated. I don't know that it's like wholly revolutionary, but for instance, like it's a book I've seen referenced a lot because I knew that it inspired Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates and The Fire This Time by Jesmyn Ward. Like it's a oft referenced book. And so many of the ideas at the core of it were not necessarily new, but the presentation and sort of like the rhetorical style of it was what makes this special, I think. It's very moving. It's 100% worth your time. And it's very short. It's not difficult to get through. So I feel like if you're looking for a nonfiction classic that's very approachable, this is one I would definitely point people to. Then my next 5-star pick is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And this is book 5, The Last Olympian. Now, it's the 5th book in a series. So like I can't really get into the full thing on this because it would be spoilery. What can I say about this that would not be spoilery? I will tell you that I am somebody who tends to really love an ending, especially if I think the ending is satisfying. I often tend to prefer later works in a book or TV show, like things that are serialized, because I love growing with the characters and seeing their dynamics develop over time. So if it gets paid off in a satisfying way, I am very prone to just really enjoying that. In this case, I really love where this book went in terms of its thematic content. Like The Last Olympian, the reason it's called that, and like what that is saying about what Uncle Rick has to say about, you know, what is really important in life and sort of like true heroism and things like that, I think is really beautiful and moving. I really love the way that the character arcs got paid off in this one. I thought it was very satisfying. This is a world that continues in a subsequent series, so I am excited to see where it goes, but I think just as a 5-book arc unto itself, it's a really satisfying story. I think he really nailed the landing, and I think by the 3rd book in this 5-book series, it was clear he had like a real game plan of where he was going. And I think he just executed on that really, to my mind, very satisfyingly and more effectively than many other YA and middle grade fantasy series I've seen. Like, I just think this just killed it. So I really love this, and I love Uncle Rick, and I'm enjoying my exploration through his oeuvre. And then we'll finish with the other classic and my last 5-star pick, which is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is my all-time favorite book. I enjoyed other books from Charlotte Bronte. I really like Wuthering Heights. I assumed that I was going to enjoy this pretty well, but I'm gonna say that this is my 2nd favorite Bronte now. I absolutely love what this book is doing in terms, well, first of all, I just love the character of Helen. She is such a badass, and I love her. So I love one of our main characters, just wholeheartedly. But also, I really loved idea-wise what this was doing. This has some really interesting things to say about human nature, about our ability to change or to not change, about what it means to have boundaries and have integrity with that. I really, really love this. It's a classic. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I do feel like it's somewhat of an undersung classic, and I learned some interesting things about Charlotte Bronte apparently being a little bit embarrassed about this book and sort of like Anne Bronte's oeuvre in general and sort of trying to downplay it after Anne's death. And I just wish she hadn't, because I think that this is definitely superior to Wuthering Heights in my opinion. Maybe not as iconic, but I don't know. I just really, really love this. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And if you're looking for a very readable classic, like this is her style is very legible to modern kind of style sensibilities. So I think that this would be a great place to go if you're looking for something easy to get through that is also a classic. Also, there's a lot more plot in here than you might think. So I think that will do it for my Q1 favorites for 2021. Definitely let me know how your reading has gone so far this year, or what you thought of any of the books I talked about. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, along with a link to this support your local library t-shirt I'm wearing. I think this is too cute, so if you want an affiliated discount code, you can check that out. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. I hope you are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.